Your $100,000 kitchen could start deteriorating in the very first month, not because of poor craftsmanship, but because of the exact cabinet types showrooms try to sell you under the label of premium. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. 1. Built-in pull-out trash cabinets. Most people spend hours comparing refrigerators rather than thinking about where the trash goes. That is exactly why built-in pull-out trash cabinets continue to be top sellers year after year. In the showroom, it makes perfect sense. The slides glide smoothly, the trash is out of sight, and the countertops look clean. The salesperson pulls one open, gestures toward the inner compartment, and you nod. It feels like the detail that separates a well-designed kitchen from an average one. The problem is that the showroom never shows you the coffee grounds, chicken bones, wet paper towels, and leftover liquids leaking from the bottom of takeout containers into that cabinet every single day. The slide system is not designed for this type of load. It is not just about raw weight, but the combination of moisture, constant daily use, and uneven loading accumulated over the years. The first sign is usually so small it is easy to miss. The drawer starts feeling a bit heavier on one side. The soft close mechanism loses its initial crisp feel. Then, the cabinet door starts shifting slightly out of alignment with the rest of the cabinet line. Not enough to trigger an alarm, but enough for you to notice every morning when you walk into the kitchen. What no one tells you beforehand is what happens when a trash bag leaks liquid overnight. It could be a cracked plastic container or steam from something hot you threw away too early. Whatever the cause, that moisture sits at the bottom of an enclosed wooden box with almost zero airflow. After a few weeks, the smell no longer comes from the trash can itself, but from the interior wood, the bottom panel, the slide tracks, and the cabinet side walls. Once that happens, no amount of baking soda can fully fix it. I have seen kitchens gutted during renovations where the bottom panel of the cabinet was warped so badly it completely separated from the frame, while the slides were still working perfectly. The interior wood silently rots over 3 to 4 years, while the door keeps opening and closing as if nothing is wrong. The solution here is not complicated. A standalone 4-gallon motion sensor trash can, costing under $200, opens touch-free and can be pulled out to wash clean in less than 2 minutes. If you want to keep the trash can out of sight, dedicate an open cabinet bay to place the can inside without attaching a door face to a slide system. The trash can stays hidden inside, and if a leak occurs, you simply lift the can out, wipe down the cabinet floor, and you are done in 5 minutes instead of calling a contractor. The next type of cabinet looks almost identical to premium lines in the showroom, and the difference between them only appears after a single water leak under the sink. 2. Low-quality engineered wood cabinets. The cabinet frame is what determines how your entire kitchen will age, not the doors, the handles, or the countertop. It's almost always the least considered part of the planning process because it's what you stop seeing the moment the doors close. Walk into any showroom, and every display model is beautifully lit, temperature-controlled, and brand new, installed just last month. None have experienced a humid southern summer. None have had a wet towel accidentally resting on the cabinet legs under the sink for a week. Your kitchen will experience all of that, and the gap between the showroom and reality is where the poor quality materials begin to show. I once looked at a kitchen in suburban Houston that the homeowner had renovated less than 4 years ago for about $45,000. Everything looked fine from the outside until they opened the cabinet under the sink. The bottom panel bulged nearly half an inch in the middle, the 2 inner corners began to darken from dampness and mold, and the smell coming from inside wasn't water, but decaying wood. A slight water leak had gone unnoticed a few months prior. Replacing the entire cabinet assembly under the sink, plus the affected flooring, cost over $2,800, nearly the full cost of a full upgrade if they had chosen the right materials. The area directly under the sink is where cheap chipboard fails first and fastest. It catches moisture from the drain pipe, small drips from the water supply, and anything else you store underneath. With a good quality plywood cabinet frame with well-finished edges, that level of exposure is completely manageable over time. With cheap chipboard, the cabinet bottom panel starts absorbing moisture before you notice any external signs. The process is very slow, which is why many people are surprised. The edges of the laminate peel slightly at the corners, easily overlooked as a minor flaw. Then the underside of the sink starts to soften in the middle. By the time you press down and feel the sagging, the damage has spread far beyond what's visible to the naked eye, and you're no longer patching a cabinet but replacing the entire unit. The financial reality is quite clear when you look at the numbers. Upgrading from cheap chipboard to a good quality plywood cabinet frame typically costs an extra $1,500 to $3,000 for a 10-foot by 10-foot kitchen. Replacing a cabinet unit after water damage, including labor, materials, and paint to match the rest, easily reaches $800 to $1,200 per unit, not including the floor or wall damage. Regarding the under-sink cabinet frame made of PVC, it's worth serious consideration. This type doesn't absorb moisture, not less, but none at all. In an area that will inevitably be exposed to water at some point within 10 years of use. No matter how careful you are, this isn't a luxury standard but simply the right material for the right environment. For the rest of the kitchen, moisture-resistant MDF with a high-pressure coating performs well and costs less than full-ply plywood while still withstanding fluctuating humidity. The key difference from regular MDF lies in the edge treatment. Sealed edges don't absorb moisture while exposed edges do, and there's no way to prevent that in the long run. 3. Cabinets with ornate moldings and handles. There is a simple question very few people ask themselves before choosing cabinetry. What does this kitchen look like after 10 years of real cooking, not after 10 minutes of standing in a showroom? Cabinet doors with raised molding, intricate profile edges, and vintage-style metal handles create a very expensive feel under display lighting. The shadow lines from the molding give the doors depth. The stylized handles make the kitchen look like custom work rather than mass-produced items. But that is the showroom version, where no one cooks, no one splashes water, and certainly no one fries chicken on a Friday night. After just a few months of regular cooking, the small grooves around the door frames begin trapping a thin layer of grease that is almost invisible to the naked eye at first. The area near the cooktop and range hood is where it accumulates fastest due to the heat and oil vapor constantly rising every time you cook. Initially, many people think a quick wipe down is all it takes, but the grease does not sit on a flat surface. It settles deep into every tiny crevice of the routed profiles and raised molding. By the time you notice, the buildup is thick enough to require a soft brush to handle. Ornate handles create problems in a different way. Handle styles with patterns or multiple curves look beautiful in photos but trap fingerprints and fine dust much faster than flat surfaces. Because there is no way to wipe straight through the tiny crevices on the handles with a regular cloth, the dirt buildup over time ruins the luxury feel you paid to have. What few people realize is that the more decorative details cabinetry has, the faster it goes out of style. Kitchen styles once considered high-end 7 years ago now feel heavy and dated simply because of too many decorative lines. When trends shift, intricate molding is the first thing that timestamps the entire kitchen. Flat panel cabinets solve both problems at once. The flat surface has no crevices for grease to cling to. A single long wipe with a cloth cleans almost all of it. Combined with a recessed Gola handle system or integrated J-pulls along the cabinet edges, the entire kitchen is left with virtually no surface to hold dirt. Some homeowners even opt for push-to-open hardware to eliminate exposed handles entirely, which is both cleaner and creates a seamless feel that kitchens with heavy molding can never achieve, even if the initial cost is much higher. The next section explains why the kitchen that looks the sleekest in the showroom is often the one you will grow tired of the fastest. 4. High-gloss acrylic and LED cabinets. If you are designing a new kitchen and want something that looks truly distinct, the showroom will lead you straight to high-gloss acrylic cabinets paired with recessed LED strip lights running along the cabinet edges. The reflected light, the mirror-like surface, and the feeling of doubled space look incredibly impressive. And that is exactly the problem, because what works well under perfect showroom lighting operates very differently in a real kitchen. I once worked with a family in an Atlanta suburb. The wife was over 55 and highly valued neatness. She was captivated by glossy black acrylic cabinets on Pinterest and decided to install them throughout. After less than 2 months, she called back. Not because the cabinets were broken, but because she could not stop wiping them down. Just a light touch from a finger with a bit of cooking oil on it, or a single water droplet splashing from the sink, and that mirror-like surface immediately shows an extremely clear smudge. The LED lighting running along the edges of the cabinets, originally designed to create an accent, acts instead like an inspection light, shining straight into every single fingerprint and hairline scratch that appears during daily cooking. The beautiful light in the showroom becomes the enemy in a real kitchen. Many people initially think that just being diligent about wiping them down is enough, but high-gloss acrylic is extremely sensitive to how it is wiped. A cloth that is even slightly coarse, wiped back and forth multiple times, is enough to create tiny micro-scratches on the surface. Looking straight at it, you see nothing. But looking from an angle under the LED lights, those marks show up very clearly, and there is no way to restore the original gloss without buffing the entire door face. The cost to replace or buff out an acrylic cabinet door ranges from $200 to $500 per door depending on the size, and a full kitchen can have anywhere from 20 to 40 doors. That is an amount of money worth considering carefully before getting impressed by the mirror effect in the showroom. Anti-fingerprint matte finish cabinets handle almost all of the above problems. The matte surface does not reflect light, so fingerprints barely show up. Wiping it once with a soft, damp cloth gets it clean. If you want to use LED lights, they still create an accent without turning into an inspection light for every smudge. And more importantly, the kitchen still looks beautiful after 3 years of real use, not just during the first 3 weeks. 5. L-shaped corner cabinets. The corner cabinet is where many showrooms sell the most solutions, and also where many homeowners experience the most frustration after moving in. The simple reason is that corner storage looks perfectly fine on drawings, but functions in a completely different way in real daily cooking. The traditional L-shaped corner cabinet with bifold doors and an interior Lazy Susan has been the standard solution for decades. The original idea makes total sense, utilizing a dead corner, adding storage for seldom-used pots and cookware, and the interior rotation providing easier access than a standard cabinet does. But the rotation works well when you try it in the showroom because at that time, it is empty and brand new. After packing it full of heavy cast iron pots, blenders, and heavy cookware, the story is completely different. Objects rarely stay properly in place on the rotating tray. A pot lid slides off the tray. A bottle of cooking oil falls over toward the back. A small plastic container slips past the edge of the carousel and drops into the dark cavity inside. Right at that moment, the corner cabinet transforms from a smart solution into an area where you have to kneel on the floor, reach your hand deep into the dark corner, and fumble around to find what you need. Some items are completely forgotten in the back because they are too difficult to retrieve, and the storage space that seemed so large gradually becomes a place to hold things you no longer remember owning. The bifold door mechanism is also the hardware component that deteriorates the fastest in the entire kitchen. Two doors linked together bear an uneven pulling force every day, causing the hinges to start sagging after a few years. The reveal between the doors grows wider. The doors no longer close tightly, and with dark-colored or high-gloss cabinetry, that misalignment shows up very clearly every time you walk into the kitchen. Corner drawer systems are replacing this design in almost all serious kitchen renovations for a very practical reason. The entire drawer slides out along the angle of the corner cabinet, exposing everything inside right before your eyes in a single motion, without needing to kneel down or rummage in the dark. For heavy cookware or large appliances, a Le Mans pull-out system allows each tray to pivot and slide completely out of the cabinet in an extremely smooth motion, converting the entire corner space from an almost abandoned area into truly usable daily storage. The cost to upgrade to corner drawers or a Lehman system is typically $300 to $600 higher per corner than a traditional Lazy Susan. But this is an amount of money where you feel the value almost every day, instead of just seeing it on a design drawing. The next type of cabinet does not occupy a dead corner like the previous section. It takes up the entire wall and still leaves you with no place to put the things you need. 6. Ceiling height cabinets without dividers. Floor-to-ceiling cabinets that cover an entire wall create one of the most striking impressions when entering a newly completed kitchen. But impressive and practical are two very different things, and the gap between them often begins to appear the first time you actually need to retrieve something from the top compartment. A lot of storage doesn't necessarily mean good storage. This is something many homeowners realize too late after spending money on floor-to-ceiling cabinets. The top compartments, from about 7 feet upwards, are almost never used in real life, not because homeowners don't need the items inside, but simply because retrieving them is unacceptably inconvenient. You have to pull out a chair, find a small ladder, stand on tiptoe, and strain to look into the dark compartments to find what you need. If the cabinets are both 14 inches tall and deep, everything behind them disappears completely from view. As a result, sheet pans, containers, and seasonal cookware are often forgotten for years, while homeowners keep frequently used items on the countertop for convenience, adding cabinets but lacking the desired sense of tidiness. What few realize is that hard-to-reach storage not only wastes space but also makes the rest of the kitchen more cluttered. When homeowners are reluctant to retrieve items from high shelves, they start accumulating everything within easy reach, and the countertop gradually becomes a storage area instead of a workspace. Cabinets fill up, but the kitchen remains cramped. Pull-down shelf systems like Hafelkesseboomer or Revashelf solve this problem without removing cabinets. With a simple pull, the entire shelf system lowers to a convenient height instead of requiring you to reach high. Installation costs range from $150 to $400 per unit depending on the system, But this investment transforms truly unusable storage into storage you actually use every day. If you still want to utilize vertical space without a mechanical system, open shelves at about 6 to 7 feet are a much more practical option than closed cabinets at the same height. Beautiful items like ceramic bowls or glassware are naturally visible, becoming part of the space instead of being locked behind a cabinet door that no one will open. More importantly, everything is within reach without climbing or rummaging. The best storage isn't about storing the most. It's about storing what you actually use, and the difference between the two is often just a few feet from eye level to hand level. The final section covers the type of cabinet that appears in almost every kitchen and is also the thing that silently slows down every cooking task day after day in a way you barely notice. 7. Cabinet with hinged doors for drawers. There are things in the kitchen that aren't broken, aren't peeling, and don't cause any obvious problems, yet they still tire you out every day for no apparent reason. Cabinets with doors that open outwards before the drawers inside are exactly that kind of thing. This design often feels safe to choose because it seems to combine the two. The exterior is clean with large doors concealing the entire interior structure, and there are still drawers for easier organization than a conventional cabinet. On design drawings, it looks very logical. In a real kitchen, it's different. Think about a situation that happens every day. You're cooking and just need to quickly grab a spice box or a bowl from under the countertop. With a conventional full drawer system, one pull is all it takes. With this type of cabinet, you have to open the door first. Leave enough space, then pull out the drawer, and then push the drawer in before closing the outer door. 3 steps instead of 1. It sounds insignificant until you do it 30 times a day for 10 years. The problem becomes even more apparent when multiple people are using the kitchen at the same time. The outward opening cabinet doors can easily hit someone's leg or the edge of the island. If the inner drawer is pulled out simultaneously, the space in front of the cabinet is almost completely occupied. This isn't a rare design flaw. It's a common occurrence in high-traffic kitchens with this type of cabinet. Beyond the user experience, the double-layer structure also reduces the actual storage inside the cabinet. The hinges, the necessary clearance for the door to open, and the door frame take up 3 to 4 inches of space on each side, making the inner drawer significantly smaller than a full drawer of the same cabinet size. Full drawer systems are becoming the standard in most high-end kitchens today for very practical reasons. With a single pull, everything inside is immediately visible, eliminating the need to open 2 layers and preventing any cabinet doors from obstructing someone standing nearby. Modern deep drawers can hold heavy cookware, stack dishes, or provide entire pantry storage much better than traditional cabinets of the same size. And more importantly, each compartment can be clearly divided into sections using a drawer organizer, eliminating the need to open it twice just to retrieve something right in front of you. The best kitchen isn't the one with the most features. It's the one where everything happens so naturally that you don't even think about it anymore. A good kitchen does not need to impress on the first day. It needs to still be sturdy, easy to clean, and easy to use in its 8th year. Designed for that 8th year, not for the handover photo shoot.